Welcome, time for some art fun. Today, we're going to look at art materials inspired by fall, so stick around. Before we get into the art materials, this weekend, I went around and looked at some of the fall colors around my area in Colorado, and I just had to share them with you. I took so much inspiration from this day, and that's a lot of what made me want to make this video. First, we went around this beautiful little area. It's like a little shopping area, but look at this cafe-style outdoor seating area they have with all the beautiful trees with leaves changing colors, and they have lights woven around them that you can see. Even though it's daytime, you can see where they are and how it would look at night. It's stunning at night, and this place is off of the chain on Christmas time. It's the most gorgeous area to visit, but I hadn't put together how beautiful it would be in fall. So we hung out here. It's right near one of our libraries, and we read some books outside, and then we went out for a bike ride and a run. So I ride my bike while my husband runs because he's a really fast runner. Can you imagine being that fast of a runner that someone has to be on a bike to keep up with you? But I recently got a cruiser style bike, and it is the best thing that's ever happened to me as far as enjoying the outdoors. I've had mountain bikes. I'm not like doing a commercial for this bike, but this is the best bike I've ever had. It is so wonderful. It's an Electra Townie, and it's just an upright style bike. I installed this little cup holder and put one of my Redbubble cups in there with my painting of my dog. This is the kind of view that we were riding past. Like, it's crazy. And you know, videos don't capture how beautiful the surroundings really are. I tried my best and I'm sharing what I can, but just obviously dial the beauty up to 11 between what you're seeing here and what it was like in person. But we were on this little gravel trail, and it goes all over my suburb, like over several different suburbs. I believe it even goes all the way to downtown Denver. And it was just crazy, gorgeous views the whole time. This is someone's backyard. Can I just explain? This trail went behind this person's backyard. This is where they actually live. So my husband and I just rode all over. I took as many shots as I could, but I was just really enjoying riding around. I smiled at every single person I passed. I was like going out of my mind with how beautiful this trail is, how beautiful this day was. It was so much fun. I was blasting Gypsy Kings. If you don't know who they are, just look them up, and just riding along, laughing and smiling and enjoying this beautiful fall day. And it really put me in the mind to share some fall colors with you in the studio. So we're going to look at my top 4 fall ink colors and do some samples for you to show you what you can do with them. I'm going to start by giving you an overview of my 4 top fall inks, and then I'll give you specific examples of both a writing sample and maybe some fun with just smearing it around to give you an idea what you can do with it if you want to paint with these. So the first one is the one that I actually inked up, this beautiful deep red Kaweco All Sport. It's just an aluminum, really beautiful pen. I have a whole video on this from when I got it. And I like to ink it up with this Shikiori Yodaki, which is supposed to be Summer Bonfire, but to me, it's like the red trees in the fall. There's like the red trees, the yellow trees, the orange trees, the greens as they're going off, you know, into their future. And this one to me is fall fires, like fall bonfires, because fall to me almost is more bonfire-y than, or at least like wood smoke. I love that smell in the fall when it starts to smell like wood smoke, but also just those trees, like the deep red trees that are turning, and I love this color in the fall. So the next one is Fire Opal. This one is a Monteverde ink. These are very affordable inks, and you get a lot of ink. So like this one is 20 milliliters, and I believe this one's 30. Yeah. And this one's a little more expensive than this. So probably almost double, actually. When I say a little more expensive, it's probably almost double. This is what it looks like in the bottle. It's just so pretty. But this is one of my favorites, and I actually have 2 versions of this color. I have Fire Opal and I have Copper Noir. Both from Monteverde. To me, they're indistinguishable. They're pretty much the same color. I have that one inked up in my Trammel Matte fountain pen, which is a demonstrator, meaning you can see the ink in the body. And this has a Goulet 1.1 stub nib on it. So these are really fun. They give you different line variation, really fun pen. Then the next one is this Lamy Crystal ink, and this one is in Azurite. I love this ink. I've done plenty of ink videos on this channel, and this one has been in, I think, all of them, if not almost all of them. Look at how that looks in the bottle. Holy smokes. And sometimes you can see the green sheen. It does sheen green, and you can see that where it's pooling sometimes, but it's just a beautiful, vibrant purple. It's hard to see, you know, every little detail of this ink because it's so dark, unless you really smear it around. And I'm gonna have that inked in this Moonman gray metal pen. I think this is the T1. This is one of my favorite pens. I have it in this sort of, this is the Kaweco Iguana. I have this one in a very similar color to this. As you can tell, the Moonman definitely did seem to take a lot of inspiration from Kaweco in making its pen. And then finally, this was one of my first inks. I saw this on Peter Draw's channel for the first time, and that's what really started getting me into ink, was actually this ink. This is Alt Goldgrün. And this one, it's German for old gold green, I believe. It is so pretty. It's so much fun to draw with. I recently did an Inktober video where I used these 3 inks, because these were the first 3 that I thought of for fall, but I think I mentioned this one. I just didn't have a pen with me inked up with that. So these are my top fall inks, and let's see them in action. What I absolutely love about fountain pens is when you can, well, first of all, the fact that you can pick different inks. So the whole idea of having colorful inks was a revelation to me when I first started watching Peter Draws. Obviously, having refillable pens is a really cool idea. I hate throwing away micron after micron. It always makes me feel weird. And I love the idea of having refillable pens. And you can always use a plain, permanent, waterproof black ink like the Carbon Platinum ink in any of your fountain pens and turn them into essentially a micron, depending on how thick your nib is. This silver thing that actually goes across the page and makes the mark is the nib. This one has a medium nib, and it's really nice for inking and for drawing because it's not too thick, it's not like unwieldy. But another thing that I really love about fountain pens is that you can draw in a color just like you would draw in a black pen. You can just make all those lines. That's why I'm showing you the different line variations that you can get and the different sort of cross-hatching and filling in entire areas, but also just being able to use ink with a brush. And one of the things I love about every single one of these inks that I chose is that when you combine them with water, magic happens. First of all, it's how the ink just like travels around in the water, and that's what I'm showing you here. But it's also that when you add ink to water, there's a fancy schmancy word for it that I'm not thinking of. It's kind of like with the silicone grease word that I forgot the last time I made a fountain pen video. But it's like chromatography or chromography or something, but basically the water pulls every little element of the color out. And so you see a bunch of different variations of the color, which you'll start to see as the water is drying. But also when you're using it in a concentration where there's not really much water and there's a ton of ink, you can get sheening where it sheens a whole different color. And the Sailor Shikiori Yodaki sheens like this really cool shiny green, and so does the Lamy Azurite, even though it's a dark purple and the Yodaki is like this cool reddish, I don't know, like warm red. It's still, or cool red actually, it's more like a cool red actually when I look at it. They both sheen green, which I think is really cool. It's very Halloween-y to me, especially with the Lamy. You'll see that in a second. But I just love how you can play with ink. You can just go to a cafe with 2 or 3 fountain pens and a water brush, which fit easily in your purse, like every purse, your pockets, but everything has room for like a few pens, and a water brush is the same size as a pen. So you can just go to one of those places with a few pens and a water brush and make a ton of different art, line variation, color variation if you have something that does that chromatography thing where it pulls out different colors. I just can't tell you, you can have a whole value range with the darkest darks to the lightest lights, especially when you incorporate water. So this Moonman, I've told you the other nib sizes, this Moonman is also a medium nib, but I have to tell you, when I fill it with this particular ink, it looks like a broad nib. As you can see here, it looks really like a fat, thick, bold nib. And this nib is why I love this pen so much. That and the fact that it has a really good tactile experience, like it feels really cool in the hand. I'm actually very excited about how this particular writing sample showed up, because you actually can get some of the effect of how this color almost looks like it's glowing purple. Like it seems like it's a black ink, but then it glows purple and you realize it's a purple ink. But when you see it in water and when you see it in concentration, like look at this water combo, look at this color that is pulled out, like this. This color is so stunning. This was one of my first inks. I absolutely fell in love with it because I followed the Goulet Pens channel, and they, like everyone in their office was using Lamy Crystal colors one year because it had just come out. And this and the Amazonite, which is like a turquoise, were the two that I was completely obsessed with and couldn't wait to get. And I'm so happy I did. I'm actually more than halfway done with this bottle, which is saying something, because one of the reasons I love fountain pen ink is it lasts forever. It is so cost effective. You can get a huge thing of color, but you can make it last and last by combining it with water and things like that. This pen I didn't really talk about in the intro, sorry about that. It is a TWSBI Go in Smoke. It's one of my favorite entry level pens. It's super easy to fill. It has this like spring mechanism you can see in the body. And this is their broad nib. So this is an actual broad nib, but look how this and the Lamy Crystal writing above look like they're the same thickness, even though one's technically a medium and one is a broad. And the size goes extra fine, fine, medium, broad, double broad. And then there are all kinds of weird nibs that are just fun, like music nibs and bent nibs and things like that, that you can get even thicker. I mean, you can go with calligraphy nibs that are up to like a 6 crazy thickness. But these are the range that I pretty much write with, which is medium and broad. Those are my favorite sizes. And then of course, stub nibs. But you should just experiment and find what you like. I'm obsessed with this Roaring Klingner. It is so beautiful. The chromatography, I'm just gonna go with that, on this one is so beautiful. You'll see that in this water area one. When you hit this ink with water, it just, something magical happens. It turns blues and like baby pastel colors. I don't know. It is, I'm obsessed with this ink. You know me, you know green is my favorite color anyway. So I just think this hits all the marks for fall. You've got the green, the orangey yellow, and the red for all the fall trees. And you've got the purple that sheens green for that Halloween, midnight, you know, nights are getting longer, days are getting shorter vibe. I think you could honestly get through your whole life with just these 4 inks and a black, like a basic black. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to leave a like. If you're not subscribed, I would so appreciate it if you would subscribe. It really helps the channel. And leave me a comment with what you thought of these inks. Would you get all 4? Which one would you get if you could only get one? I would love to hear from you with what these inspire you to do. I'm planning on doing some kind of like a leaf extravaganza spread just using inks, and these 3 are going to be very prominent. So thanks again for watching, and remember, until next time, create something cute.